Hello. So I want to talk about something real quick. I was listening to a person and they brought up something about a baby and how a baby just automatically knows to do certain things. It's like automatic. Nobody has to teach it. And it made me think of, how you are already all-knowing, but because we have identified with our avatar, which is the physical body, which really does not exist, it's not really here, but because we have identified with the avatar and we have become an ego, we have reduced our consciousness to the lowest level of the soul, then we believe that we are actually the avatar. We believe that we are actually the ego. We believe the things that we see, the false physical reality. Okay? But when that person brought up the thing about a baby automatically knowing things and proving the point that you already knew everything, and I know what the person's talking about, because your body isn't real, your brain isn't real. Okay, so when somebody says, it's just me saying this, when somebody says you only use 3% of your brain, that's because you have identified with the avatar that's not real. You have identified in the physical reality. Most people believe that's all there is. So when people just reduce their consciousness to only believing in a physical body, then you only use about maybe 3% of less of your true potential. So when you talk about 3% of your brain, I'm basically saying 3% of your true potential, because your true potential does not have a shape, because you are omnipresent, you are all-knowing. That's God. That's the description of God. You're omnipresent, you're omnipotent. Okay? You're everywhere. You don't have a body. You don't have a physical brain. But because of indoctrination and history books and health books and going through schools and seeing a skeletal system in the blood and the veins and all that stuff, then we believe in all that stuff. And then when we keep getting indoctrinated with education like that, then we start to really believe in all those physical things, because we're heavily indoctrinated. Think about them tribes, right? Like the Senegalese tribe. Do you think they are getting that kind of education? Are they getting that kind of education? Somebody talked about how it was reported, because nobody can go in the Andaman Islands, they'll get killed. So I guess somebody had to be kind of flying over or something. But it was reported that they had some kind of lights and stuff like that. And they was trying to wonder where the lights came from, because they didn't go into the city and buy any lights, and I don't know how they made it. They probably have evolved to a point where they know how to create it on their own. Maybe they became lights. It's no telling. Their consciousness probably, they probably have a much, it's not probably, they have a much higher consciousness than regular people around the world who are indoctrinated. Okay, now I'm gonna get to the point about come as a little child to enter the kingdom of heaven. Okay, now I noticed in the Bible, that's what Jesus was saying. Truly I tell you, if you don't change and become like a little child, like these little children, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. Now also, I learned this myself about the soul, but I just want to say what Bobby Hemmett said. Bobby Hemmett said about the soul, about you cannot really communicate and approach your soul and connect with your soul again. You cannot truly connect with your soul unless you come to your soul as a little child. You have to become a child in order to connect with your soul. So when I look at the Bible and it say, Jesus say, truly I tell you, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven unless you change and become a little child. And then I heard Bobby Hemmett say, you cannot connect with your soul unless you become a child. To me, that soul is almost like the Christ consciousness. You see what I'm saying? I think a lot of things that's in the Bible has to do with other type of what people like to call metaphysical. What people like to call metaphysical. Okay? Because I already know the actual characters that they use in the Bibles that people use today, those people didn't really exist. They use different names, because I've been to Israel in 2007, and you're not going to find any of those graves. Those people, those are just characters that were made up to, because those scriptures came from other little things and writings from different from different systems that came earlier, before that, okay? Before the Catholic Church, before the Roman Catholic Church. So even during the time of matriarchy, they took, like a lot of stuff that's in Revelation, they even took that from the Sibyls. So they took some stuff from the time of matriarchy, okay? But anyway, yes, I just want to say that. Now here's what I was thinking. I thought about this a while, maybe a couple of weeks ago. What I need to do, and what I definitely need to do, number one, you have to separate from your mind. And that's hard to fathom when you're in a lifestyle where you constantly have something to do every day. But a wise person said, the mind needs you. You don't need the mind, but the mind can trick you into believing you need the mind. And what I realize I need to do is that I need to unlearn everything that I ever learned. That's the whole ego. That's what you call an ego death. Okay, that's what you call an ego death. When people say ego death, you are unlearning everything that you learn. You are unlearning everything that you ever learned, even from your parents, even from your environment, from school. You are unlearning everything that you ever learned, because everything that you learned was used to uphold the matrix, to create an ego. Even when people think they know something because they work for NASA, when people think they know something because they're mathematicians, when people think they know something because of all this other stuff, right? And it's nothing wrong with those things, but the way that people are indoctrinated, a lot of people are indoctrinated with lies. So when it's nothing wrong with understanding things and knowing things when it comes to math and all that stuff. But see, the problem is when you go through an education system, a lot of things that you're going to learn is things that the so-called government, which I call the governors of the minds, the ones that actually control their ego brain. Okay, they literally press buttons and control the ego brain. That's why people get sick. I call it mind control. I don't care. That's mind control. That's a heavy belief in the physical reality and the physical body when you don't even have one. Okay, but that's because we've been so indoctrinated that even when we finally learn that the physical reality is an illusion, we're still so heavily indoctrinated that we still get sick and we still experience sneezes and coughs, right? We still got to take a shower every day, even though no physical body is really there to take a shower. We still go to the bathroom, because even though many people know on a surface level that the physical reality is an illusion. Many people know on a surface level that we live in what you would call a holographic, a virtual reality, whatever you want to call it. Either way, you can't have a physical body made of matter like that. Either way. Most people know that, but they know it. Many people know that. I don't know about most, but many people know that. But they only, including myself, know it on a surfacey level, because if it was really deep within us, we would not have to go to the bathroom every day. We would not have to take showers. We would not have to eat what you think is physical food. We would not need to ride in a car to get where we need to go. Why would you need to do that when you're not even physical? But it's the mind. The mind is what's holding us down. That's why that God really put out a jewel there when he said, the mind needs you. You don't need the mind, because as long as you're attached to the mind, you keep believing illusions. You keep believing illusion, and the mind itself is an illusion. The mind itself is an illusion. Okay, so I'm at a point where I have to release the mind, and I'm at a point where I have to release the mind because I think it's going to be close for me to just go and get out of here. And I'm not trying to be funny when I say that. I'm not trying to be negative when I say that. It's time, you never know what age you think that people got to be like 90 and 100 years old when it's time to let go. But I'm telling you, the things that's happening it's time for me to let go of the physical world. It's time for me to let go of the mind, because if I keep holding on to the mind, it's not going to get better for me at all. It's not going to get better. I have to let the mind go. I don't care. Okay. I don't have a choice but to let it go. Okay. But yeah, that's it. That's all I want to talk about. Just that passage about how Jesus said, truly I tell you, in the Bible, he said, truly I tell you, because he said, let the little children come to me. Let the little children come to me. And he said, truly I tell you, if you don't change, become like a child, like these little children, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. And then I remember when I heard Bobby Hemmett say, you cannot connect back with your soul. You cannot connect with your soul unless you become a child again. That is why joy is at the top of that frequency. There's something, it's like a little frequency scale, right? And at the bottom is fear and anger and sadness and all that stuff. And at the very top is joy. Joy. Not even happiness, because happiness depends on what's going on in your life at that particular time. So happiness is temporary. But it's on the top of the scale. It's going towards the top of the scale. I think it's above love. I do believe it's above love. And gratitude is too. I think gratitude is above happiness. Gratitude is high up there. But I think at the very top is joy. Why is that? Because joy has something to do with your soul. When you have joy, you're like a child. That is why joy is at the top of that frequency scale. You become a child again when you have joy. Okay? So, yeah. And just thinking about the indoctrination, why I know I have to just unlearn everything I learned, because if you think about it, if a child, like this person I heard that kind of brought that up, a child learns automatically how to do things. It's just automatic. Just think about some of these tribes and just think, like if people are just left to just learn and let the Spirit teach them everything, just let the Spirit teach them. And you don't go through school, you don't have all this education, you don't have no government, you don't have all these different ego stuff that's going on, you know. You don't have to worry about no neighborhoods, no environments, stuff like that. You just let the Spirit, let the woods, or just let nature teach a child to come up, you know. I mean, I know you can't just give birth to a baby and let them just throw them out to the wolves. I'm not saying that. But, kind of raise them, but without all the indoctrination, right? And just let them pretty much learn naturally from the Spirit. You teach them certain things because, they kind of come into still a low level of existence, which is kind of physical, okay? But still, you let nature teach them, you let Spirit teach them everything they need to know instead of a whole bunch of education. And you will see that they will have a much higher consciousness than folks who actually think that, like in the United States, where it's a whole lot of technology, where they're big on technology and advanced technology. But advanced in technology means that it's less humanity. More technology and then more advanced technology means less humanity. So while people like to brag that it's advanced technology in different areas of the world, that means there's less humanity. That means that most of the people themselves are going to become AIs. Okay? So I don't brag on a whole lot of advanced technology. I brag on Spirit. I brag on a child growing up in nature and letting nature teach them what they need to know. Obviously, if he's born in a physical type of existence, you're going to have to teach him something, just like when animals give birth to their babies. They teach them for a little while, but after a little while, they release them into the wild. Okay? And every last one of those animals, most of the time, learn what they need to learn. Okay? So, that's what I'm saying. Okay? Is that for myself, that's just what I know I need to do. Is that most likely to get higher in consciousness and to be more like a child, I have to literally go through a real ego death. And a real ego death means that you unlearn and detox from everything that you were ever taught. Even thinking that you're an adult, there's no such thing as being an adult. There's really no such thing as being an adult because you never grew up, because you were never born. See, but we believe we were born, but we were never born. We have birth certificates. I'm gonna get into those too a little bit later on. But we have birth certificates, we have all that stuff, we have government names, but we were never born. Okay. So I need to unlearn everything, and it's almost like the curious case of Benjamin Button. I literally need to age backwards because I never aged anyway. Time never went by. There was never time. Time never went by. Okay? So I need to be like the curious case of Benjamin Button and going to start going through the process of ego death and start aging backwards and going back to when I was never born. Okay, before all this indoctrination and get back to the soul level. Okay, but anyway, I'll talk later.